Have you ever stood before a wall so big, so impossible, that you wondered if God even saw you? A wall of dead, wall of sickness, a wall of broken relationships. We've all been there, but today, I want to take you back to one of the most dramatic moments in the Bible. A story where God proved that faith, not weapons, brings victory. This is the story of Jericho, and it's not just ancient history. It's your story too. Welcome to The Chosen. We've all faced giants, Goliath taunting us from one side, fear holding us back on the other. Today, we dive into the heart of courage. A story that's not just about defeating enemies, but about facing our greatest fears and discovering the strength within us. Get ready. It's time to slay some giants. Okay, picture this. Joshua had just taken command after Moses. The people of Israel have waited for 40 long years in the wilderness. That's like 40 seasons of waiting. And now they stand at the edge of their promised land. But here's the twist. One thing stands in their way. Jericho. Now, Jericho wasn't just a city. It was a fortress. Huge stone walls surrounded it, higher than any ladder, thicker than any spear could pierce. To human eyes, it was impossible. But then God gave Joshua a strange instruction. March around the city once a day for 6 days. On the 7th day, march 7 times. Then blow the trumpets, shout with all your might, and the walls will fall. Now, let's be honest. If you were a soldier, you'd probably say, wait, what? No swords, no attack, just walking. It sounded ridiculous. But faith often sounds ridiculous until God shows up. So the Israelites began their estranged mission. Day 1, they marched around the city in silence. The people of Jericho peered down from the walls, laughing. This is your mighty army. Who's walking? Day 2, again, one march. No results. The walls still stood tall. Day 3, still nothing. I imagine some of them thought, Joshua must be out of his mind. Day 4, day 5, day 6. Nothing changed. The dust settled. The walls didn't move, and doubt crept in. Have you ever prayed for something again and again, but nothing happened? You start to wonder. God, are you listening? But Joshua kept saying, don't stop. Keep walking. Trust God. Then the 7th day came. The Israelites rose early. Their hearts pounded. This time, not one march, but 7. Round and round, their feet stomped the ground, their faith holding them up with each step. At the end of the 7th march, the priests lifted the trumpets and blew with all their strength. Joshua shouted, now, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And the people roared a thunderous shout of faith. Suddenly, the earth trembled, the mighty walls cracked. Stones tumbled. Dust filled the air, and before their very eyes, the impossible fortress collapsed into rubble. Without swinging a sword, the Israelites walked straight into victory. Not by power, not by might, but by faith in God. Okay, now let's talk about why this story is a big deal. First off, it's all about trust. God told Joshua how to conquer Jericho, not with weapons, but with obedience. He wanted to show Joshua and the Israelites that he was in control. It's like when you think you've got everything under control, but God steps in and reminds you that he's got a bigger plan. Secondly, this story teaches us that God loves to do the impossible. Can't be defeated. In Jericho's case, God wanted to show them that he could do things that seemed impossible. And boy, did he prove it. Lastly, the story of Jericho teaches us about faith. Faith means trusting God, even when things look really tough. When the walls of Jericho didn't fall right away, the Israelites could have given up. But they kept believing that God would help them. And guess what? Their faith paid off. You see, the story of Jericho isn't just a story from the past. It's a guide for our lives today. We all face challenges, and sometimes those challenges seem like huge walls that we can't get over. But the story of Jericho reminds us, walls don't fall because of our strength. They fall because of God's power. Let's look at this practically. Imagine you're planning to start a business. You've got an amazing idea, and you know it can be successful. But then, suddenly, bam, the economy takes a downturn. People don't want to spend money anymore. It's like a giant wall blocking your path to success. What do you do? Do you give up on your dream? Or do you trust that God has a plan even in the tough times? The story of Jericho encourages us to keep going, to keep believing in God's plan, even when the economy seems shaky. Next, let's talk finances. Picture this. You've saved up some money to buy a house. You've scrimped and saved, maybe even lived frugally for years to make it happen. But then, wham, unexpected expenses pop up. Car repairs, medical bills, home maintenance. These expenses feel like a sneaky little wall that's trying to block your path to homeownership. What do you do? Do you lose hope and decide it's not meant to be? Or do you hold on to the belief that God has a plan for your finances? The story of Jericho reminds us to stay hopeful, to keep moving forward, even when financial roadblocks seem overwhelming. What if I told you that this story also has a message for those of you who are facing health challenges? Think about it. The story of Jericho shows us that even when things seem bleak, when we feel like we're up against an impossible wall, we shouldn't give up. Instead, we should hold on to our faith and trust that God has a plan for us, even in the toughest times. But here's the kicker. This story doesn't just tell us to trust God. It shows us how it's like having a step-by-step guide for our faith. Remember how the Israelites had to walk around the city for 6 days without any results? During those times, they could have lost hope and decided that God wasn't listening. But instead, they kept going. They kept their faith strong. And guess what? On the 7th day, when they kept their faith strong, that's when God showed up in a big way. The walls of Jericho came tumbling down. So what's the lesson here? Well, sometimes when we face health challenges, we need to keep going. We need to keep believing in God's plan for us, even when it doesn't seem like He's listening. It's like taking those 7 laps around the Jericho. We might not see results right away, but we need to keep our faith strong. We need to keep putting one foot in front of the other. We need to keep praying, keep believing that God has a plan for us, even when it seems impossible. Think about David facing Goliath. David was a young shepherd who wasn't supposed to win against a giant warrior named Goliath. But David trusted God, believed in himself, and took a slingshot and 5 stones and went to fight Goliath. When he was only a shepherd with a slingshot, David could have felt afraid and thought he couldn't win. But instead, he trusted God and his own abilities and took on the challenge. David didn't just defeat Goliath, he became a hero of the Israelites. Similarly, when we face health challenges, we might feel scared and overwhelmed. But we can remember David's story and choose to be brave. We can trust God, believe in ourselves, and take the steps we need to improve our health. Maybe that means making changes to our diet or exercise habits, or seeking out medical care. Whatever it is, we can take action and trust that God is with us every step of the way. Remember, we don't have to be fearless to be brave. We can be scared and still take action. We can trust God even when we're afraid. Let's close with this. The story of Jericho shows us that when we put our faith in God and trust Him, even the biggest challenges become possible. It's a reminder to keep going, to keep believing, and to keep taking steps towards a better future. It's a call to be brave, to face our fears, and to trust that God is with us every step of the way. So whatever walls you might be facing today, whether they're about health, finances, relationships, or anything else, remember the story of Jericho. Trust God, believe in yourself, and keep moving forward. You never know when God might decide to show up and make the impossible possible. Hey, thanks for watching. If this video made you think or gave you hope, share it with a friend. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. And above all, remember, keep walking. Your 7th day is coming.